Hello, my dear friend, and welcome. I am so happy you are here with me today. My name is Anna, and this is the VUS Learning English podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am sending you a very warm welcome. If you are a returning listener, thank you for coming back. It is wonderful to have you with us again. Today, we are going to talk about something very important. It is a topic that can change everything for you. It can change your English learning journey. We will talk about learning new words. We will talk about vocabulary. And we will learn a new way, a better way, a way that is calm, easy, and even fun. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me today. I am truly grateful. If you enjoy our time together, please think about giving this a like. Or you can subscribe or follow the channel. When you do this, you help our community grow. You help us reach more English learners around the world, just like you. And I love to know where you're listening from. Are you in Myanmar or Japan? Maybe you are in Taiwan or India. Please tell me in the comments. It makes me so happy to see our global family. Okay, let's begin. I want to tell you a story. It is a true story. It is about my brother, David. A few years ago, David wanted to learn Spanish. He had a big dream. He dreamed of traveling in South America. He wanted to talk to people there. He wanted to really connect with them. He did not want to be just a tourist. He wanted to be a real traveler. And David was very dedicated. He worked very, very hard. Every night, I saw him at our kitchen table. He had many, many flashcards. Flashcards are small cards for studying. One side has a word in your language. The other side has a word in the new language. David had stacks of these cards. They were bright and colorful. He also had lists of words. He put them on his walls. He put them on his bathroom mirror. He even put a list in his car. He was trying every method he knew. He used memory tricks. He used repetition. He used apps on his phone. These apps tested him again and again. He spent so much time studying. Sometimes 2 hours a day. Sometimes even 3 hours a day. I would see him with a serious look on his face. He was concentrating so hard. He would say Spanish words quietly to himself. It sounded like a quiet prayer. He was trying so hard to learn. But after 3 months, something was wrong. Something was very wrong. He worked so hard, but he was not making progress. One night, I found him at the kitchen table. His head was in his hands. He was looking at his flashcards. He looked at them like they were his enemy. He looked so tired. But it was more than just tired. It was a deep sadness, a deep feeling of defeat. He looked at me. His eyes were full of this sadness. He said, "I don't understand." His voice was quiet and weak. He said, "I have learned more than 1,000 words. I can pass any test with my flashcards. But when I try to listen to a Spanish podcast, or when I try to watch a movie in Spanish, or even when I just try to think of a simple sentence, like how to say, 'I want to buy a coffee,' my mind is empty. It is completely blank." He told me, "It feels like the words are in my head, but they are behind a wall of glass. I can see them. but I can't touch them. I can't use them. My brother was ready to quit. He was ready to give up on his dream. All of his time. All of his hard work. It was all turning into a bad feeling. A feeling of failure. He started to believe something sad. He started to believe that he was not a language person. He thought his brain was broken. He thought something was wrong with him. And when I saw my brother feeling this way, I felt so sad for him. I know my brother is smart. He is a brilliant person. But he felt so defeated, so hopeless. In that moment, I realized what the problem was. He was a victim of a big wrong idea. It is the biggest and most painful wrong idea in language learning. The wrong idea is this: you can learn a language by trying to memorize vocabulary. My brother was working so hard. It was like he was running a marathon, but he was on a treadmill. A treadmill is a machine you run on, but you stay in one place. He was sweating. He was getting tired, but he was not going anywhere. What I'm going to share with you now is what I shared with him. It is a simple secret, but it changed everything for him. It changed his entire journey. And this secret will help you too. It will help you learn thousands of new words, and you will remember them easily, without trying to memorize even one word. Let's talk about the big wrong idea about vocabulary. The big lie. The lie is that your brain is like a computer. The lie says that learning words is like putting data into a computer. This idea says that if you see a word and its meaning enough times, your brain will save it. Your brain will keep it, and it will be ready for you when you need it. This is the idea behind flashcards. It is the idea behind vocabulary lists. It is the idea behind most language apps. The apps say, learn your 10 words for today, get a prize, feel good about yourself, and do it again tomorrow. It seems like a good idea. It seems logical. You can measure it. You can count the words. It feels right. But it is completely wrong. It is very, very wrong. And it is the number one reason people stop learning the language. Millions of people, just like my brother, David, they give up because they feel so sad and frustrated. Let's be very clear. This method does not work, and it actually hurts your learning. It makes your progress slower. Your brain is not a storage box. It is not a computer hard drive. Your brain is a connection machine. It is a beautiful living network. It loves context. It loves emotion. It loves meaning. Your brain is not made to remember single, separate bits of information. It does not like information with no story, with no feeling. Think about your own language, your first language. How did you learn it? Did you study lists of words? Did your mother and father give you flashcards? Did they give you a card for dog? Or tree? Or love? Of course not. That is a funny thing to imagine. You learned those words naturally. You learned them without trying. Because you heard them many, many times, thousands of times. And you heard them in meaningful situations. situations that made sense. You heard the word dog when a cute, furry animal licked your face. You heard the word dog when you read a book about a brave dog. You heard the word dog when your parents said, "Be careful, don't pull the dog's tail." The word dog was not just a fact. It was a living idea. It was connected to your real life. It was connected to your experiences, your feelings, your memories. When you try to memorize that arbol means tree from a list, you are creating a very weak connection in your brain. It is like a single thin piece of thread. It connects two words, but there is no feeling. There is no story. Your brain thinks this information is not important. So why should your brain keep it? It is just noise. It has no meaning. This is why you have that difficult problem. You study for 1 hour. You learn 20 new words, but the next day, you only remember maybe 5 of them. This is not because you have a bad memory. Let me say that again. It is not because you have a bad memory. It is because you are using your brain in the wrong way. You are using your brain in a way it was not made for. Scientists who study the brain know about this. They say that trying to memorize facts uses declarative memory. This is your fact memory. For example, Paris is the capital of France. You can say the fact, but it is not a skill. But using a language is a skill, like riding a bicycle or understanding a joke. This uses a different kind of memory. It is often called procedural memory. This is your skill memory. You build this skill memory slowly, without thinking about it. You build it through experience and through meaningful repetition. Speaking a language is a skill. It is not a list of facts. When you focus on memorizing, you are putting the words in the wrong memory system. You are building a library of facts about the language, but you are not building the language skill itself. My brother David was a perfect example. He stored hundreds of facts in his head. He could tell you that the word comprar in Spanish means to buy. That was a fact he knew. But when he needed to use that word, when he wanted to say, "I want to buy a coffee," his brain could not find the word. There was no path to get it. The word was not part of a living skill. The word was like something in a museum. It was beautiful, but it was behind glass. You can look at it, but you cannot use it. David had memorized the meaning of the word, but he had not truly learned the word. He had a list of ingredients, but he did not know how to cook a meal. The problem with the memorization idea is not just that it does not work. It is also that it traps you. It traps you in a sad cycle of failure. This cycle makes you feel bad. It makes you believe that you are the problem. And many of you have probably felt this deep frustration. It starts with a feeling of progress, but it is a false feeling. You download a new shiny language app, or you make your first group of flashcards, and for 1 week, it feels good. You learn 10 words, then 20 words, then 100 words. The app gives you gold stars. You have a long streak of daily study. The app tells you, "Good job, you are amazing." You feel like you're making progress. You can look at a pile of 200 flashcards and say, "I learned all of these." But this feeling is an illusion. It is not real. It is a trap. Because when you leave the world of the app or the quiz, the illusion breaks. You try to watch a simple show for children. The people in the show are talking slowly. They are using simple words. You hear a word you know sometimes, but it all goes by so fast. It is like trying to catch fish in a river with your bare hands. The words swim by too quickly. Even the words you know from your flashcards, you do not recognize them. When they are in a real sentence, they sound different. You cannot understand them fast enough. You lose the meaning of the sentence. And you start to feel panic. You think, "I thought I knew 500 words. Why can't I understand this simple cartoon?" This is a terrible feeling. It hurts your confidence. You feel a big separation. A separation between your learning and the real world. The truth is this. Recognizing a word on a flashcard is a totally different skill. It is not the same as understanding that word in a real conversation. Memorizing lists gives you zero practice. Zero practice for understanding language in real time. It is like practicing basketball alone in a quiet gym. You can shoot the ball into the hoop many times, but then you expect to play perfectly in a big, noisy championship game. The two situations are not the same at all. The next step in this sad cycle is blame. You start to blame someone, and you always blame yourself. You do not blame the method. You do not blame the flashcards or the app. You blame your brain. You say things like, "My memory is so bad. I am just not good at languages. Maybe I'm too old to learn." These are the lies that the memorization myth tells you. It whispers these lies in your ear. Every time you forget a word you just learned, every time you cannot understand a simple sentence, the wrong idea gets stronger. The lie gets bigger. My brother David was sure he had a bad memory. But this was not true. He could remember very complex stories from books he read years ago. His memory was great. His memory was not the problem. The method was the problem. The method made him fail, and then it made him believe the failure was his fault. This leads to the most dangerous part. You lose your motivation. You lose your energy to keep trying. Learning a language should be a happy journey of discovery, but this method turns it into a chore. A chore is a boring task you have to do. It has no joy. It is punishing. You look at your flashcard app on your phone, and you feel a sense of dread. A feeling of, "Oh no, I have to do this again." Studying feels like pushing a big, heavy rock up a hill. And every morning, the rock has rolled back down to the bottom. It is so frustrating. And you do not see any real improvement in your life. Your dream of speaking another language starts to feel silly. It feels far away. Impossible. You start to miss a day of studying. Then another day. Your streak on the app is broken. You feel guilty. And the feeling of failure gets even stronger. And then, one day, you just stop. The flashcards get dusty. The app stays on your phone, but you never open it. And the dream dies. And you are left with this quiet, sad belief. The belief that you just were not good enough. This is the real tragedy. The memorization idea does more than waste your time. It destroys your confidence. It kills your passion. It takes something beautiful. Learning a language is one of the most beautiful human experiences, and it turns it into a sad, difficult exercise that hurts your spirit. Seeing my brother David feel so defeated was very hard. It broke my heart. But it was also an important moment. He was finally ready to leave the path that was going nowhere. He was ready to try something new. That night at the kitchen table, I told him, I want you to take all of these flashcards and all of these word lists. Put them all in a box and forget about them. Your new journey starts right now. But this time, we will do it the right way. The natural way. The way that happy, successful language learners have always done it. I explained to him that the secret was not a new, complex method. It was not expensive software. It was the opposite. It was very, very simple. The secret is to stop trying to learn vocabulary. Stop trying to collect words like you are collecting stamps. Instead, you should think of words as discoveries you make on a journey. The secret is to change your focus completely. Move away from memorization and focus on one single powerful idea. That idea is massive, comprehensible, and compelling input. That sounds a little complicated. Reading and listening to things in English that are easy for you to understand and that are very interesting to you. That's it. That is the secret. This is the idea that successful language learners use. People like Steve Kaufman. He is a man who has learned over 20 languages. He uses this method. The idea is so simple. We learn a language, including vocabulary and grammar, not by studying it directly. We learn it by understanding messages, by understanding stories, by understanding ideas. When you listen to or read things in your target language, and you can mostly understand them, and you think they are interesting, your brain does all the work for you. It happens automatically. Your brain starts to absorb the language. It learns the patterns, the way sentences are built, and yes, the vocabulary. It happens without you trying. It is natural, and it is subconscious. This is not just a nice idea. This is how our brains are made to work. Think again about how you learned your first language. You were a baby. You were surrounded by language all day. It was a flood of input, a flood of words and sounds. And the people around you made it easy to understand. Your mother pointed at the family dog, and she said the word dog. The picture of the dog, the sound of her voice, and the word dog, they all connected together in your brain. It was a meaningful connection. Your brain did not memorize a fact. It formed a rich connection with many senses. The secret to learning a second language is to do the same thing. You create this natural process again. Instead of taking words out of their context, you find them in their natural home, in stories, in conversations. Your goal is no longer learn 10 new words today. That goal is gone. It is not important anymore. Your new goal is to spend time enjoying the language. Your new goal is to read a story you like, to listen to a podcast that is interesting, to watch a show that makes you happy. I told my brother David, imagine this. From now on, your only job is to find things in Spanish that you actually want to read and listen to. Things that are so interesting that you almost forget you are learning a language. This is what the linguist Stephen Krashen calls compelling input. Compelling means very, very interesting. When the input is compelling, you get into a special state, a state of flow. You are so focused on the story or the idea, and you are not worried about understanding every word. But your brain is paying attention. Your amazing brain is busy. It is finding patterns. It is seeing how words are used. And it is doing all of this without stress, without the frustration of trying to memorize. The aha moment for my brother was this. He realized that all the hours he spent feeling sad and frustrated could be replaced with hours of real pleasure. The boring chore could become a fun hobby. The feeling of pressure could be replaced with curiosity. This is a huge change in thinking. You stop being a student who is studying for a test. You become an acquirer, an explorer on a wonderful journey of discovery. The language is no longer a wall you have to climb. The language is a new world you get to enjoy. And in that world, you will find and learn thousands of words. Not because you tried to, but because it happened naturally. You could not stop it from happening. So how do we do this? How do we put this into practice? The first step is the most important step. You need to build your compelling input engine. This is your personal system. It is how you will find a lot of reading and listening material. This material must be interesting to you, and it must be at a level you can mostly understand. This is the foundation of the whole method. If the material is not interesting to you, you will not continue. If the material is too hard to understand, you will not learn from it. Let's talk about what compelling and comprehensible really mean. In simple words, compelling means it must be truly interesting to you. Not what a textbook says is interesting, but what you would choose to read or listen to in your own language. If you love stories about space and science fiction, find those stories in English. If you love to cook, find cooking websites or videos in English. If you love a sport, find podcasts or news about that sport in English. Your own interests are the power for this engine. When you are truly interested, your motivation is automatic. You're not forcing yourself to study. You are choosing to do something you enjoy. And learning English becomes a happy result. Comprehensible means you should be able to understand the main idea. You should know what is happening in the story, even if you do not know every single word. A famous linguist calls this I+1. I is your current level, and +1 is material that is just a little bit difficult for you, just a small challenge. You should be able to understand the main story using clues. The context of the story helps. Your existing knowledge about the world helps. You want to feel a little confused but not lost, challenged but not sad or frustrated. Imagine you understand 98% of the words. This is probably too easy. You are not learning much that is new. Now imagine you only understand 50% of the words. This is too hard. You will feel lost and want to stop. The best place is somewhere in the middle. Maybe you understand between 70% and 95% of the words. This is the sweet spot, the perfect place for learning. So, where can you find this magical content? Let's talk about some ideas. If you are a beginner, this can feel like the most difficult stage. But there are many good options for you. Look for things like graded readers. These are special books for English learners. They are written at different levels. Level 1, Level 2, and so on. They use a limited number of words. This means you can read a whole story, and you will feel a great sense of success. Children's shows and stories. Content made for young native English speakers is often perfect. The language is simple. The words are repeated many times. And there are pictures or actions that help you understand. Podcasts for learners. Many podcasts are made just for beginners. The hosts speak slowly and clearly. Sometimes they explain difficult words. Our podcast, VUS Learning English, is one example. There are also podcasts like Coffee Break English or News in Slow English. Language platforms with libraries. There are websites and apps built on this idea. One example is LingQ. I will spell that for you. LINGQ. These platforms have big libraries of stories and audio, and everything is organized by level, from beginner to advanced. If you are an intermediate learner, your world becomes much bigger. You can start to use real, authentic content made for native speakers. Podcasts about your hobbies. Find a podcast about something you already love. Maybe you love gardening or cars or history. Your knowledge about the topic will help you understand a lot. It gives you context. YouTube. YouTube is an amazing source of input. It is endless. You can find channels in English about anything. Video games, makeup tutorials, history documentaries, whatever you love. Start by using the English subtitles. This helps you connect the spoken words with the written words. News and blogs. You can start reading news articles or find blogs about your interests. Start with topics you know well. Netflix and other streaming services. Watch a movie or a TV show that you have already seen in your own language, but this time, change the audio to English and use the English subtitles. Because you already know the story, you can relax. You can focus on the language. So, here is your first mission, your first small task. Spend a little time exploring. Build your library of interesting content. Find at least 3 or 4 things that you are excited about. Subscribe to a podcast, bookmark a website, download an ebook. This is not just preparation work. This is your first win, your first victory on your new journey. You are no longer a prisoner of a boring textbook. You are the boss of your own learning journey. And your journey is powered by joy, not by duty. Okay, so you have your engine. You have your interesting material. What is next? The next step is to change how you think about new words. Remember, we are not memorizing, we are acquiring. Acquiring is like absorbing something naturally. The key is a simple, gentle, two-step dance. The two steps are noticing and linking. Noticing is just the simple act of seeing a word you do not know. You are reading or listening, and you become aware of a new word. That is all. It is a moment of curiosity. For example, you are reading a simple story in English. You see the sentence, "The man sat down under the large arbor." Wait, that was a Spanish word. Let's use an English example. Let's say you see this sentence. The cat was very nimble. You know, the cat was very. But that last word, nimble, is new to you. You just notice it. You think, I do not know this word. You do not panic. You do not feel bad. You just see it as a small gap in your knowledge, a small space to fill. This idea of noticing is very powerful. The polyglot Steve Kaufman says, "You cannot learn what you do not notice." Your brain must first see something as new. Then it can start the process of learning it. The goal of reading is not to understand 100% from the first day. That is not the goal. The goal is to spend time with the language and let your brain start finding these new pieces. Now for the second step in our dance, linking. Linking is the process of quickly finding the meaning of the new word. You find the meaning in that context, in that sentence, and you create a small mental connection. This is where technology can be your best friend. This is very different from making a flashcard. When you make a flashcard, you take the word out of its home. You separate it from the story. With linking, you do the opposite. You keep the word right there in the sentence, and you just attach a meaning to it for a moment. Here is how it works. Let's use our example word, nimble. Using digital readers or apps. This is the easiest way. On a Kindle e-reader or on a platform like LingQ, you just touch the word on the screen. You tap on nimble. A small box pops up. It instantly shows you the definition. Maybe it says, able to move quickly and easily. You see the definition. You read the sentence again. The cat was very nimble. You think, the cat could move quickly and easily. And then you continue reading. The whole process takes maybe 3 seconds. You did not stop your reading for a long time. You just answered your own question. You satisfied your curiosity. And you made a small link in your brain. Using browser extensions. If you are reading an article on a website, there are tools like the Redlang extension for your browser. These tools do the same thing. You can click on any word like nimble for an instant translation or definition. The low-tech way. If you are reading a real paper book, just keep your phone next to you. When you notice a new word, quickly look it up in a dictionary app. Understand its meaning in that sentence, and then go right back to your reading. The important thing here is to resist an old habit. Resist the desire to create a list of new words. Do not write the word down. Do not get out a highlighter pen. Remember, your main activity is reading for pleasure. Your main activity is not collecting data. The mindset here is the most important thing. You are not studying this word. You are not responsible for remembering nimble tomorrow. Your only job is to understand it now, so you can continue enjoying the story. That is all. The pressure is gone. Completely gone. You might look up the word nimble today, and then you see it again 2 days later in a different story. And maybe you have no idea what it means. You forgot. This is not a failure. This is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. This is a normal and expected part of learning. It is okay to forget. So what do? You just link it again. You tap the word. You see the meaning again. Able to move quickly and easily. You think, oh, right, and you continue reading. You might do this 5 times for the word nimble. You might do it 10 times, or even 20 times, over many weeks. And that is perfectly okay. Each time you notice the word and link its meaning, you are making that connection in your brain a little stronger. Imagine you are building a rope. Each time you look up the word, it is like adding one thin strand of fiber. One strand is weak, it can break easily. But when you add many, many strands together, they create a strong, unbreakable rope. This gentle cycle of noticing and linking is beautiful. It works with your brain, not against it. It respects the way your brain naturally learns. Through many exposures to a word, in different meaningful contexts, in different stories. You are not pushing the word into your memory. You are giving your brain the material and the context it needs. And your brain will learn the word on its own time, when it is ready. This brings us to the 3rd step, the final and most magical step. This is the step that replaces the boring, painful work of drilling flashcards. The secret to making words stay in your memory forever is not forced repetition. It is not testing yourself again and again. The secret is natural repetition through massive exposure. Let me explain that in a simple way. With flashcards, you try to create repetition yourself. You decide you want to learn the word nimble. So you test yourself on that word 5 times today and 10 times tomorrow. This is artificial. It is not natural, it is boring. And it creates a weak connection because the word is always alone. It has no story around it. The input method does the opposite. Instead of forcing repetition, you let it happen naturally. How? By reading and listening to a lot of content, a massive amount. The most common and important words in any language will appear again and again, naturally, organically. You do not need a special system to review the word the or the word have. You will see them thousands and thousands of times. The same is true for every other useful word. The language itself will bring the words back to you. Think about it like this. Imagine you are visiting a new city for the first time, and you want to learn your way around. You would not try to learn the city by memorizing a list of street names. That would be a strange and difficult way to learn. Instead, you would just start walking around. You would explore. On the first day, you might walk from your hotel to a nice coffee shop. and you notice the name of the main street. Let's say it is Oak Street. The next day, you walk from that same coffee shop to a museum. You walk down Oak Street again. But this time you also see a smaller side street. Maybe it is called Pine Street. A few days later, you want to go to a restaurant. You look at the map, and you realize the restaurant is also on Oak Street, the same street you have walked down several times. You never tried to memorize the name Oak Street. You never made a flashcard for it, but because you saw it many times. Naturally, from different directions, for different reasons, the name becomes part of your mental map of the city. It has context. It connects to the hotel, the coffee shop, and the restaurant. It is part of your real experience. It is learned deeply. This is exactly how you learn vocabulary with this method. You learned the word nimble today in a story about a nimble cat. A week from now, you might listen to a podcast about sports, and the host talks about a nimble soccer player. A month later, you are reading a book, and a character is described as having a nimble mind, meaning they think quickly. You never sat down to review the word nimble. The language did the reviewing for you, and every time you saw the word, it was in a new, interesting context. This builds a strong, flexible understanding of the word. A flashcard can only tell you nimble means quick and easy movement, but natural exposure teaches you what nimble truly feels like. It teaches you all the different ways the word can be used. This is why your main job is just to read more, listen more, consume more and more interesting input. The solution to forgetting a word is not to drill it more. The solution is to read another chapter or listen to another podcast episode and to trust the process. Trust that the language will bring that word back to you when you need it. This needs a little bit of faith. You have to trust in your brain. In the beginning, it can feel strange. It can feel like you are not working hard enough. You might feel like just reading is too easy. You have to fight the old feeling that you should be making lists and drilling words. But soon, you will experience the results. One day, you will find yourself thinking or speaking in English, and you will use a word that you never tried to learn. And in that moment, you will understand the power of this natural way. You are letting go of control, and instead, you are using the amazing natural learning power of your own brain. This all sounds good, but does it really work? Let me tell you the rest of the story about my brother, David. He was not sure at first, but he was so sad and frustrated, he was ready to try anything. So he put his flashcards in a box. I helped him build his compelling input engine, his system for finding interesting things in Spanish. David loves history, so we found a Spanish podcast about history. At first, it was very difficult for him to understand. But the topic was so interesting to him that he continued. He wanted to know what they were saying. We also found some graded readers for him. Books about history, written in simple Spanish. He also started using the website LingQ. He found articles about World War II. This is a topic he knows a lot about, so his existing knowledge helped him understand. His only job was simple. For 1 month, spend about 1 hour every day, reading and listening to things he found interesting. The rules were, look up words you do not know, but do not try to memorize them. Just understand the meaning in that moment and then move on. Trust the process. The first 2 weeks were a test of his faith. He would say to me, I feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm just reading. He was still forgetting words. He would look up a word one day and forget it the next day. The old sad feelings came back sometimes. The worry about his bad memory. I just told him to keep going. Read the next chapter. Listen to the next episode. Just trust the process. It is working. Then, after about 3 weeks, something changed. Something amazing happened. He came to talk to me one evening, but this time his eyes were not sad. They were wide open with excitement. He was shocked and happy. He said, "It's the strangest thing. I was listening to my history podcast today, and suddenly I just understood a big part of it. I was not translating words in my head. I just knew what they were talking about. The meaning just came to me." He continued, and then I was reading an article, and I saw a word, deserolo. I have looked that word up maybe 10 times, and I always forgot it. But this time, I did not need to look it up. I just knew it meant development from the story. It just clicked. That was the moment everything changed for him. He had felt the magic of natural learning. The word had moved from being a dead fact to being a living piece of language inside his mind. His brain had learned it from meaningful context. After that, his progress was so fast. It was amazing. The more he read and listened, the more he understood. The more he understood, the more fun it was. And the more fun it was, the more time he spent doing it. He created a wonderful, positive cycle. He was no longer studying Spanish. He was enjoying his love of history through the Spanish language. 6 months after he threw away his flashcards, the change was huge. He was easily enjoying content made for native speakers. He was watching documentaries on Netflix in Spanish. He was starting to have real, simple conversations. The words were not trapped behind glass anymore. The words were there, ready for him to use, because they were learned through thousands of meaningful moments. The best moment came about 1 year later. He called me. He was in a small coffee shop in Medellin, Colombia. He had achieved his dream. He was on his trip in South America. He told me he had just had a long conversation with the old man who owned the cafe. They talked about the history of the city. He was not just a tourist anymore. He was connecting with people. He was a traveler. David's story is not special or unique. It is the story of everyone who learns a language in this natural way. It is the story of the man who learned over 20 languages. Not because he has a super memory, but because he used a better method. A method built on joy and interesting input. This story is proof. The problem is never your brain. It is not your age. It is not your talent. The problem was always the method. Now, changing to this new method is a big shift. It is a change in your actions, but it is also a change in your mind. You will have some doubts and worries. Let's talk about the most common ones. Worry number 1. But what if the words just don't stick? I've looked this word up 10 times. Yes. Welcome to the club. Everyone feels this way. It feels like your brain has a hole in it. You look up a word, you understand it, and tomorrow it is gone. Your first thought is, this is not working. I need to study this word harder. You must resist this thought. Forgetting is a normal and important part of learning. Let me say that again. Forgetting is part of the process. It is not a sign of failure. Every time you forget a word and look it up again in a news story, you send a message to your brain. The message is, hey, this word is important. I am seeing it again. Successful language learners say they need to see a word 10, 20, or even 30 times. In different contexts. Before the word truly sticks forever. So the change in your mind is this. Move from, I must remember this now, to, I trust I will learn this over time. Stop testing yourself. Just keep reading, keep listening, and have faith that your brain is working in the background. The word will stick when your brain is ready, not when you decide it should. Worry number 2. This feels so much slower than flashcards. Am I wasting my time? This is an illusion. It feels this way because short-term memory is different from long-term learning. Flashcards give you a quick feeling of success. You can learn 50 words and pass a test 1 hour later. It feels fast. The input method feels slower at the start because you are not forcing anything into your short-term memory. Think of it like building a house. You can build a house with straw, or you can build a house with stone. The straw house goes up very fast. You see progress immediately, but it is weak. It will fall down in the first storm. The flashcards are the straw house. The stone house takes much longer to build. Building the foundation is slow work, but you are building something strong, something permanent, that will last a lifetime. The input method is the stone house. The vocabulary you learn from flashcards is weak. You have to review it all the time, or it disappears. The vocabulary you acquire through input is deep and strong. It is connected to a network of other words, feelings, and stories. You do not need to review it because you are always using it and reinforcing it just by enjoying the language. You are trading the feeling of speed for the reality of deep, permanent learning. Worry number 3, but I really do have a bad memory. I am just not a language person. This is the biggest lie of all. This is the lie that the broken memorization method makes us believe about ourselves. The wonderful thing about the input method is that it is designed for people who think they have a bad memory. It does not use that kind of memory at all. Your ability to learn a language from easy, interesting input is not a special talent. It is a human skill. Every human has it. It is the same system you used to learn your first language as a child. It is built into your brain. Believing you are not a language person is like believing you are not a breathing person. Your brain is a language learning machine. You just need to give it the right kind of fuel, the right kind of food. And that food is interesting stories and conversations. The change in your mind is this. Stop saying, "I have a bad memory." That label is not true and it is not helpful. Your success depends on your choice to spend time with the language in a way you enjoy. Instead of saying, "I have a bad memory," start saying, "I am learning English naturally through input." Change your identity. You are not a person who is bad at memorizing. You are a person who is good at enjoying stories. This change in how you see yourself is more powerful than you can imagine. We started today with the story of my brother, David. He was staring at his flashcards, feeling like a failure. He believed he was bad at languages, but he was just a victim of a wrong idea, a broken method, a method that leads to boredom, sadness, and quitting. The secret is to stop trying to memorize vocabulary. The secret is to leave that boring, painful work behind, and instead, to begin a happy journey of discovery. The solution is simple. It is natural, and it is very powerful. Immerse yourself in a lot of interesting and understandable input. Stop making lists. Start reading stories. Stop drilling flashcards. Start listening to podcasts you love. Change your goal. Your goal is not learn 10 words. Your goal is spend 1 hour enjoying English. Trust your brain. It has a natural ability to learn language, just like it did when you were a small child. The path is not about forcing words into your head. It is about letting the language become part of you. My brother's change was not a miracle. It was the natural result of using the right method, a method that works with the human brain. You have that same brain. You have that same ability. So I invite you, put down the flashcards. Step away from the vocabulary lists. Find a story, a podcast, or a movie in English that makes you feel excited. Press play. Start reading. Let your new journey begin. Stop memorizing and start living the language. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I hope this has been helpful for you. Remember that learning is a journey, not a race. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. And keep going. If this was helpful, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this message. And please leave a comment. Tell me, which language are you learning? And what is one interesting thing you will read or listen to this week? I love reading your comments. Thank you again for being here. See you next time, my friend.